So we're going to move on to our next presenter. Tom, you've not presented before, have you?
No.
Great. I don't know what these speakers are going to talk about. I don't even know, I haven't even seen the slides. It's Richard who puts the slides together, so it's as much of a surprise to me as it is to you. So I'm not sure what I'm going to talk about, but it's not presented before, so you know the routine. Huge warm welcome and enthusiastic response please to Mr. Tom Grady!
Thank you very much.
Ready, Tom?
I guess so. Okay, so I opted this evening to talk to you about etymology, which on the face of it might be quite boring, but I hope not. For me, it's quite an interesting subject. For those of you that don't know what etymology is, it's the origin of word and the historical development of its meaning. Everything I'm going to talk about this evening is completely ripped off from a book called Etymology, so if you want to question any of the facts I'm going to give you, take it up with him. Nothing to do with me. I actually really quite like to chapter in his book. Now, specifically, I'd like to talk about a small village or town in North Yorkshire, which some of you may well know, which is actually the biggest global corporation the world has ever known by way of the Vikings. Trust me, I'll try and get there in the end. So, the village in question is Starbeck, which, if you're not local, is just on the train line just between here and Harrogate, just near Knaresborough. A little village. It has a bakery, a butcher's and a chimney sweep. We'll sell you a wood fire, according to Wikipedia. So the Vikings arrived in Lindisfarne around about 739 and worked their way down the northeast coast and arrived pillaging all the way to a little part of what is now North Yorkshire and settled or stopped at a spot that they liked which had a lot of sedge grass by a stream, and they decided to name the spot a sedge grass stream. In Old Norse that is Starbeck, and the name stuck, and it's as you know it's still there to this day. That was kind of an old map of North Yorkshire, but you get the idea. Is basically what I'm trying to say is it's an old settlement. I think it first appeared on a map around about 1819 or something, but there's evidence of human habitation from long before that, and evidence of families living there, specifically one family who took the name of the village, Starbeck. As often happens, I guess, you know, kind of one family becomes quite famous for where they're from. 1379, that's the first evidence of families living there, which I thought was quite interesting. It actually goes back that far, this tiny little village that some of you may even have been to. Over the years, I'm kind of waiting for the next slide, but over the years, for whatever reason, it often happens in language actually, vowel sound, especially dialect or pronunciation, whatever, but the word Starbeck gradually became Starbuck over the centuries. And this is absolutely true. Since the settlement of the area, two things happened. The Quakers came about, if you like, and America was discovered, and a lot of Quakers went and settled in America, specifically in the Cape Cod region of the East Coast, and even more specifically that in an area, Nantucket Island, which was a very, very famous whaling station, and that's kind of why it goes well. But the Starbuck family from Starbeck in North Yorkshire moved there, or some of them did, and became very wealthy whalers and made a fortune there. One man who was living around there at the time and was a whaler himself for some time was researching the book, Herman Melville, decided to write a book about a famous whale, which I'm sure you've all heard of the book, and he certainly had heard of the Starbuck family and named one of the characters Starbuck. He's the first mate on the people of the ship. This guy, an English teacher in Seattle in the 70s, liked the book and it was on the curriculum, he used to teach it, and so he'd tell his high school students about the Pequod and about the adventures of Moby Dick and Captain Ahab and all the rest. When he decided to open a coffee shop with his two friends, they were casting about for a name. And he said, I've got the perfect name for it, it's from my favourite book, I tell the kids about it all the time. I think we should call the coffee shop Equal. Someone pointed out, well, you probably shouldn't be selling hot and cold drinks with the word P in it. And so there was a bit of toing and froing about where they then came up with the name. There is another version, there's a Camp Star, blah, blah. One slight interesting aside I thought is that Moby Dick was actually based on a real whale that apparently fought off like whaling ships, 100 whaling ships in the Pacific. And bizarrely, this whale was really called, and again, Herman Melville would have known it, but this whale was known by the locals as Mocha Dick. And I thought that was really interesting, that you could potentially order a mocha dick in Starbucks. It's sort of nice, sometimes really quite weird coincidences. Yeah, what did I have to describe? Oh yeah, that's basically it. That's how a little town in Yorkshire became the evil empire. Because they went for Starbucks in the end, as you all know. If you want to know a bit more about that chapter, if you want to question any of my facts, or just in general a bit more about etymology, the guy that wrote the book, Mark Forsyth blogs, I think he thought this isn't a pitch because it's nothing to do with me. But he's got lots of interesting stuff about the origins of words, including why our word for brackets, parenthesis, is from the codpiece, basically.